if you think about the 10th planet, the sun is so distant that even at the surface you might not have enough life to experience photosynthesis. So what will be, that planet is what the consequence will be, that planet will be in a continual dark, in a continual night. But it's not necessarily lifeless. If the planet is very small, the gravitation of the planet is not strong enough to keep the gases close. If the planet is the object in space, is too large, it is going to be capable to trap enough atmosphere and enough gases to hold heavy gases in, to allow the hydrogen to escape in space and create something that scientists call redox differentiation. Redox differentiation is whenever chemicals that some of them tend to donate electrons, some of them tend to accept electrons, they separate physically from each other. And because hydrogen, that is an electron, a very good electron donor, because hydrogen is so light, if you have an atmosphere that is very rich in other gases, but is overly packed with those gases, the hydrogen will tend to go to the upper part of that atmosphere and eventually will escape into space. And when you do this, suddenly you create a situation where the atmosphere is a little more oxidized than the crust itself, than that planet itself. And if you start having a thick enough atmosphere that will allow fluids to exist, such as water or liquid CO2 or whatever, ethanol, whatever liquid, when you have that liquid at the surface of the planet, because the planet itself has a thermal gradient, you are going to have vertical circulation of fluids. Vertical circulation of fluids means that the liquid go on the ground, get themselves heated, and then they go up, carrying all kinds of reducing components such as ammonium and methane and hydrogen sulfide, and they bring them to the surface. And as they come to the surface, they come in contact with those oxidized components at the very surface. So that the size of the planet dictated the temperature of the planet, the size of the atmosphere created a redox differentiation. The size of the planet is what allowed life to exist. So it's not inconceivable that the planet can exist without any sun, with life on it.
I have approximate answers and possible beliefs. If you expected science to give all the answers to the wonderful questions about what we are, where we're going, what the meaning of the universe is, and so on, then I think you could easily become disillusioned and then look for some mystic answer to these problems. How a scientist can take a mystic answer, I don't know, because the whole spirit is to understand. Well, never mind that. I don't understand that. But anyhow, if you think of it, the way I think of what we're doing is we're exploring, we're trying to find out as much as we can about the world. People say to me, are you looking for the ultimate laws of physics? No, I'm not. I'm just looking to find out more about the world. And if it turns out there is a simple ultimate law that explains everything, so be it. That would be very nice to discover. If it turns out it's like an onion with millions of layers and we're just sick and tired of looking at the layers, then that's the way it is. But whatever way it comes out, its nature is there and she's going to come out the way she is. And therefore, when we go to investigate it, we shouldn't pre-decide what it is we're trying to do except to find out more about it. If you say, but your problem is, why do you find out more about it? If you thought that you were trying to find out more about it because you're going to get an answer to some deep philosophical question, you may be wrong. It may be that you can't get an answer to that particular question by finding out more about the character of nature. But I don't look at it. My interest in science is to simply find out about the world. And the more I find out, the better it is. I like to find out. There are very remarkable mysteries about the fact that we're able to do so many more things than apparently animals can do. And other questions like that. But those are mysteries I want to investigate without knowing the answer to them. And so altogether, I can't believe the special stories that have been made up about our relationship to the universe at large, because they seem to be too simple, too connected, too local, too provincial. The earth, he came to the earth. One of the aspects of God came to the earth, mind you. And look at what's out there. How can he? It isn't in proportion. Anyway, it's no use arguing. I can't argue it. I'm just trying to tell you why the scientific views that I have do have some effect on my beliefs. And also another thing has to do with the question of how do you find out if something's true? And if you have all these theories of the different religions, have all different theories about the thing, then you begin to wonder. Once you start doubting, just like you're supposed to doubt, you ask me if the science true. We say, no, we don't know what's true. We're trying to find out. Everything is possibly wrong. Start out understanding religion by saying everything is possibly wrong. Let us see. As soon as you do that, you start sliding down an edge, which is hard to recover from. And so with the scientific view, or my father's view, that we should look to see what's true and what may not be true. Once you start doubting, which I think to me is a very fundamental part of my soul, is to doubt and to ask. And when you doubt and ask, it gets a little harder to believe. You see, one thing is I can live with doubt and uncertainty and not knowing. I think it's much more interesting to live not knowing than to have answers which might be wrong. I have approximate answers and possible beliefs and different degrees of certainty about different things, but I'm not absolutely sure of anything. And then many things I don't know anything about, such as whether it means anything to ask, why we're here, and what the question might mean. I might think about it a little bit. If I can't figure it out, then I go to something else. But I don't have to know an answer. I don't feel frightened by not knowing, by being lost in a mysterious universe without having any purpose, which is the way it really is as far as I can tell possible. It doesn't frighten me.
Can you know or see God? Many intellectuals today say that there is no God in an anthropomorphic form. They try to explain things in conformity with what is acceptable for our rational and scientific mind. God is beyond rationality. He is beyond science. In fact, the there is not only one God but millions of them. They are all evolved souls, very effulgent in nature. We cannot see them with naked eyes. They live in different locations in space, in their own planets. They are invisible to the naked eye. If you read scriptures, they all testify the existence of God in light forms. The word God itself doesn't convey much to us. But if you go to Sanskrit and find an equivalent to what we say as God in the English language, the term in Sanskrit is Deva. Deva means a shining being. God is a shining being. Go to any prophet, any Messiah, they all have seen God as light or a shining being. You have the example of the burning bush. So to say that the God does not exist in any form is simply ignorance. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, who is in a human form of a body and mind, tells Arjuna, Arjuna, you cannot see God with your naked eye. So I am going to show you my real form. But you can't see my real form with your human eyes. So I am going to give you a divine eye. Dadami divyam chakshu. I'm going to give you a divine eye. With that divine eye, you will be able to see beings who are light forms. Go to Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. Patanjali talks about how can you see high beings like Siddha masters. There is a special light called Mukta Jyoti. And with this light you can see the Siddhas flying in the sky. So people should try to understand God from the scriptures, from the yogis who have documented the forms of the different deities, different angels. They also have given us methods. And if you just reject them and then try to understand it according to your own scientific and rational delusions, you are not going to go anywhere.
I really love you, and I
Science is about trying to get rigorous answers to questions about how nature works. And it's a very important process that's actually quite reliable if carried out correctly, the generation of hypotheses.
Father, significant other, and even my best friend. What if I notice no glitches in motion?
the star above you, crystal blue. Well, oh, baby, my head Hello, baby, my hair's on and about you. Flirting, bumping noses, dodge a tooth, their fins are luminous. Fangs all round the clown is dark below the boulders, hiding all the sunlight's good for us. 'Cause we're the fishes and all we do but move about it.
But all of us started with the source. Everything there is came from it, and it cannot exist without it. It is the glue that holds everything together. If it were to wink out for a fraction of a second, everything would disintegrate. It cannot exist without this power that holds everything together. It all started there. We were all a part of it in the very beginning. And in the very beginning, God, it's been described as a huge bright light, a huge energy source that everything emanates out from. But what I've found in my work is that in the beginning, God was just this huge energy source pulsing out there in space, if you want to limit him by saying space. But then he became curious. He wanted to know. He wanted to learn. He wanted to experience. He couldn't do it on his own. So he exploded out. And when he exploded out, you may call this the Big Bang Theory, but when he exploded out, all the particles flew out in all different directions. Those particles, little sparks, some of them became universes, some of them became galaxies, and some of them became the human souls. When you take us back to what we really are, we are just a tiny spark. We are a tiny spark that started with God. We were sent out and told, go out and experience and learn. Learn everything there is to learn, and then bring it back. This is how God learns. He wants to learn. He wants all of us to experience. That's why there is no good, there is no bad. It's only experiences. It's only lessons. We bring them back to the source. And this is how everything was created when it all went out. And as that, if you picture that, when we're journeying out through all of our hundreds and hundreds and thousands of lifetimes, where we experience every type of life you can ever even imagine. We've all been flowers, we've been plants, we've been animals. In the theory of reincarnation, we have to be everything before we're done. We have to know what it's like to be everything. On this earth, on other planets, where we are pure energy, it doesn't matter. It's all a form of expression of the source of God. We have to learn everything that's possible to learn. That's why there's no judgment. We have to bring it back to the source. In that way, you can picture us as cells in the body of God, constantly gathering information and taking it back to the beginning. And I asked one time, what does the source do with all of this information once we accumulate it and bring it back? It said it uses it to create more. It's constantly in a state of creation. And everything is created through love. Love is the force behind everything. And it uses all of our experiences, all of our knowledge, everything we have gained to create more, to create new universes, to put other forms of life on it. And it goes on and on and on. There is no end. And I said one time, what happens when we get all of the information we've accumulated from hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes back to the source? We can stay there for a while because they say once you're there, you don't want to leave again. It is so beautiful. It is so wonderful to be all back together again. It's just it's a love that you can't describe, and you don't want to leave. And I said, what happens then? He said, then it explodes out again. It all starts again. Another journey somewhere else. And somebody asked me one time, well, what happens when you have learned everything that's possible to learn in this universe? Don't you ever stop? Don't you ever just stay there? And he said, no, there's other universes. There's other galaxies. There's other ways of life that you can't even possibly imagine. And we're always adventurers going out and trying to explore and find what's out there. But in that way, we are all God. And that's not sacrilegious to say that. We are all God because we came from the source and we are a part of it, and we will continue to be a part of it. It's a constant motion. It never stops. And when we think of it that way, our little petty problems are nothing compared to what we're really here for. To gain knowledge and information, to help each other understand that love is at the basis of everything.
What's coming?
A train!
Are we gonna ride the train?
Yeah! Look at how it goes to us! Oh my goodness!
Here it comes.
Here it comes!
Hey, we gotta be safe. Stand back.
Whoa!
Alright, let's get on the train. Okay, step up.